the deadliest and most destructive conflict that one can imagine. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the satellite photos and lots of other photos, and it's a horrible thing that's happening. Thousands of people are dying a week. This very day is the third anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, which would never have happened if I was president. That was not going to happen. The horrors of this gruesome and bloody war can scarcely be overestimated. Hundreds of thousands of people, Russians and Ukrainians in particular, have needlessly died. An entire generation of Ukrainians and Russian men has been decimated. 1,000-year-old cities have been turned into rubble. Those beautiful spires that you used to see there, they were most beautiful in the world, they say, are lying in heaps of rubble, blasted to smithereens. It's time to end this bloodletting and restore peace, and I think we're going to do it. We've had some great conversations, including with Russia. Since my return to the White House, we've made more progress toward that goal in 1 month than occurred in the past 3 years. And I've spoken with both President Putin and President Zelensky. And again, a lot of good things toward peace are happening, moving it, I think, pretty quickly. This is the right time. It may be the only time. You know, that's a very interesting and horrible situation, and that could evolve into a third world war. We're not going to let that happen. Should have never started, but it did. And what a mess. What a horrible, bloody mess.
For 3 years, there has been no meaningful attempts at peace since that meeting that was scuppered by Boris Johnson. Now Trump wants to end the war. He campaigned on that. He's pretty much said that if it just comes down to it, America will stop funding it and it'll end that way. So can he get a better deal? And that's been sort of a wake-up call for Europe. I've mentioned before a woman named Kaja Kallas. She used to be the Prime Minister of Estonia. Now she's a foreign affairs leader for the European Union. She wasn't really elected by the people, but that's her position. As I mentioned, Estonia has about 1.3 million people in the whole country. It's the size of Calgary, Alberta. Here she is meeting with our own Melanie Joly. We've got 40 million people, but not much more of an army than Estonia has, I'm afraid. That's the thing. You can play dress up all you like, but without the U.S. to pay the bills and provide the weapons, it's just a costume party. There's something very odd, I think, about tiny European countries with no real armed forces of their own talking so tough about war, especially if it's young women who probably have never held a firearm in their lives. Just the idea of them knowing about war is so disconnected from what war is like. I'll add Trudeau to that list, of course. And Germany too, actually. Remember the German official who was in tears after U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said America wanted Europe to grow up and to start taking responsibility for themselves and not relying on America so much anymore. And by the way, they should stop censoring. Here's that German leader of the Munich Security Conference in tears.
This is why I cannot just ignore what we heard before. I cannot not comment on the speech we heard by the U.S. Vice President. We fight for your right to be against us. That is the motto, one of the mottos of the Bundeswehr, and it stands for our democracy. This democracy that was just called into question by the US Vice President, and not just the German democracy, but Europe as a whole. He spoke of the annulment of democracy, and if I understood him correctly, he compares the condition of Europe with the condition that prevails in some authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not acceptable.
Trump has essentially said to these folks, you can have your press releases and your podcasts and your meetings and you can play dress up, but America's out? Now, they're appalled and claiming that America is pro-Russian. I don't know. I think Trump just doesn't want to inherit someone else's war, especially a war that's only getting worse every day for Ukraine. Yeah, it's getting worse for Russia too, but it's Ukraine that's losing. How can you call yourself a friend of Ukraine if you preside over its destruction at the hands of the Russian army meat grinder? Didn't Boris Johnson just give the game away there? Trump wants peace. Now, peace at any price? Probably not. I hope not. But you do make peace with your enemies, by the way. You generally don't make peace with friends you don't need to. And given that Russia is winning the war, at least in terms of territory, the terms of the peace will likely be distasteful to the West. But what is the alternative? It is a terrible business. Trump never talks about Ukraine without mentioning that the war would not have started on his watch. And I think we all know that to be the truth. In fact, Justin Trudeau acknowledged that in his weekend phone call with Trump. And we know that's true because war didn't start on Trump's watch. It happened before Trump was president, when Obama was president in 2014, and it happened after Trump was president in 2022. Now Trump is coming in and trying to fix the thing. Anyways, Trudeau has what? 2 weeks left as prime minister, March 9th, if I'm being precise. But boy, he loves jetting around on his private jet, our jet, acting very important. He has no democratic mandate. He has no democratic legitimacy. He prorogued Parliament because he was about to be fired by the MPs and sent to an election. He's hiding from his own MPs. He's hiding from Canadians. He is hated. But there he is, swanning around the world, first class, private jets, 5-star hotels. Oh, and throwing more bales of $1,000 bills on the fire. Look at this.
But I know, we all know, there is more work to do. That is why I am announcing Canada will be providing 25 more LAV-3 infantry fighting vehicles to Ukraine. We will be delivering 2 armored combat support vehicles, which Ukrainian forces will be trained on shortly in Germany. Landing systems for F-16s were delivered just 2 months ago, and 4 F-16 flight simulators will be provided in the coming months. And that's on top of the millions of additional rounds of ammunition, components for drone cameras, and first aid kits. We're also dispersing the first installment of the $5 billion in assistance to Ukraine funded through revenues from frozen Russian assets, along with providing a grant to help Ukraine maintain its energy security in the wake of consistent, reckless attacks by Russia on Ukrainian energy infrastructure.
At least in this case, he claims he's paying for the $5 billion from seized Russian assets. Normally, he just takes our tax dollars. What's so weird, though, is that he's sending state-of-the-art military equipment to Ukraine, equipment that is more advanced than anything we have here in Canada. F-16s? We don't have those in Canada. We have 40-year-old F-18s, many of which don't work. And then this, I don't know if you saw this headline. It was in the Canadian press. Here's the version on CTV. Sending Canadian troops to Ukraine on the table under a possible peace deal. Trudeau. So we would send Canadian troops to be a buffer between Russia and Ukraine? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did not rule out sending Canadian troops to Ukraine as part of a possible ceasefire deal when asked about the prospect during a peace and security summit Monday in Kiev. We will work with our neighbors on it, but everything is on the table, Trudeau said at a joint media conference with other leaders. You know, I've learned that when Trudeau or Melanie Joly or any of his people say everything's on the table, that's actually just code for we have no idea and we're afraid to say yes or no. But still, he's not ruling it out. So no parliamentary debate, no vote, just send troops to be human shields in the middle of these two brutal warring countries. You know, maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. Maybe that's in our national interest. I can see an argument that it could be. Stay in good with NATO, make sure Kaja Kallas likes us and Keir Starmer and the new German chancellor. I don't know. Maybe Canadians want that. Maybe we can afford that. I'm skeptical, but to do all this on the back of a napkin in the final weeks of his term of office with Parliament dissolved, that's outrageous. That's undemocratic. I've got to just share one more headline with you. Take a look at this one from the Globe and Mail. Trudeau presses Trump for Ukraine security guarantees. I'll read this from the Globe. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau pushed U.S. President Donald Trump in a phone call Saturday to ensure that any peace deal for Ukraine offers security guarantees and prevents Russia from using military force to further expand its territorial reach. Yeah, I think the Brits are in this peace conversation. And I think the French are too. I don't know, Germany's new leader seems to be having a bit of a meltdown. He was just elected yesterday. I don't think anyone takes Germany too seriously as a military force, though. Obviously, the U.S. is going to be at that negotiation, Ukraine and Russia. But Trudeau? Telling Trump how to do it. Telling Trump how to negotiate. Yeah, I'm sure Trump was hanging on Trudeau's every word. Hey, what's your advice for how I should negotiate, Justin? I can't wait until March 9th to be done with that little clown Trudeau. Can you?